What's up, everyone? Smelanated GL Decoder here. And I was thinking, it's late, early in the morning. And I was like, there's some similarities between Yoko and Charlotte. And I was just thinking about, obviously, how I made the NineStar video and the selective grace. And then how I made, obviously, MGI and Watt's public toxicity. And he's been very publicly toxic to Charlotte, right? And the main incident I really kind of got to know more about his archetype was the Charlotte birthday incident based upon listening to all y'all's reactions. And then being on panels where Yoko is slandered, right? And I was like, these two cases are not different. The only difference is the fans' reactions based upon observations, right? And so obviously me and AI broke down what I came to witness, what I came to a realization of. And it's honestly the best neutral take for me, because I'm not against NineStar. And I would say I'm not against MGI, but I don't really like men regardless. So, I mean, it's easy for me to throw away MGI. You know what I'm saying? But I know y'all other girl is with them, right? But he in there for 25 plus years. We already broke it down. So we'll see when she finally takes the reins. Yeah, exactly. So, but let's talk about the two main characters here, Yoko and Charlotte. And I was like, I need to do some more information. I need some more information on Yoko. So what I found out is Yoko, y'all, she's been in the industry since she was 2. 2. Do you know what that means? Have you ever been Have you ever been put into a system at age 2? Bro, you're not even out your diapers like that. And then you got Charlotte, who came through MGI. And when they said like around 2017, and I was like, oh, okay. So one has been in the system since 2, and one came in around 2017. And obviously she wasn't 2 years old, right? And so I was like, this makes more sense. Why the collective attacked Yoko, but defends Charlotte? And me and AI broke it down, and we're going to come back and talk to you about it. But yeah, man, Yoko deserves grace. She literally has been groomed in the industry. Charlotte, not so much, because she's new. That's why she's so defiant, and she doesn't know the hierarchy, so y'all say, right? Exactly. It's not because she's British. It's because she's new. Anyways, I know this might be a little salty for ninjas, because you're like, no, boycott NineStar. Listen, I'm not on that type of timeline.
Yoko Apasra and Charlotte Austin versus the fans, perceived autonomy under systematic control in the Thai GL ecosystem. Context. This decode examines how audience perception, systemic control, and industry grooming converge to shape collective grace and backlash. Yoko entertainment since age 2. Decades of grooming through child acting, teen TV roles, film, and music. Contractually bound under NineStar, forced ship split with Faye limited her autonomy. Fans often misdirected frustration toward her, failing to see structural constraints. Charlotte Austin entered industry through pageants 2017 and modeling, acting debut 2023. Contractually bound under MGI Nawat, publicly coerced, e.g. birthday incident, but visibly resisting. Fans perceive her as constrained, generating collective support and grace. Patterns revealed. 1. Grooming and tenure. Yoko, decades of industry conditioning equals compliance, internalized obedience, perceived as responsible for public actions. Charlotte, shorter tenure, less conditioned, visible defiance signals autonomy and courage. 2. Contractual leverage. Both talent are structurally bound. Contracts control mobility, statements, and participation. Perceived autonomy diverges. Groomed talent judged as complicit, newer talent judged as constrained. 3. Founder gender and narrative visibility. NineStar, female-led, ambiguous messaging. Audience misreads coercion, backlash on Yoko. MGI, male-led, Visible coercion, fans recognize lack of agency, support for Charlotte. 4. Audience grace. Collective grace is determined by perceived autonomy under systemic control, not morality or intent. Talent with visible constraint receives grace. Talent with hidden systemic control is often attacked. Deeper structural insights. Grooming as systemic control. Yoko's decades of exposure trained her to comply. Predictable under studio pressure. Contracts as leverage. Both NineStar and MGI use contracts to capture output, control messaging, and extract visibility. Narrative framing shapes audience perception. Clarity of coercion drives fan protection. Ambiguity drives misdirected attack. Defiance versus compliance. Charlotte's visible defiance reflects agency under constraint. Yoko's compliance reflects systemic conditioning. Implications for Thai GL ecosystem. Talent cannot be evaluated in isolation. Structural constraints dictate behavior. Audience misperception can amplify harm or misdirect energy. Founder gender influences framing, but contract leverage and narrative clarity are the primary drivers of fan response. Takeaways. Yoko Apasra. Grace must come from structural understanding of grooming and contract constraints. Charlotte Austin. Grace emerges from visible defiance and perceived coercion. Structural pattern. The ecosystem demonstrates how grooming, contracts, and narrative visibility converge to determine collective judgment and fan support. Mirror lesson. The fans are the structural mirror. Their judgment reflects perceived autonomy under systemic control, not morality.
Yeah, so I wanted to actually go, I wanted them to expand on what it is that the collective reacted and responded to more in plain terms and regular rhetoric, not regular rhetoric, but more understandable rhetoric for you. So when I asked, okay, what more in depth, in plain simple terms, the mirrored lesson, that the fans are the structural mirror. Their judgment reflects perceived autonomy under systematic control, not morality, right? What does that mean? What does that actually mean? Okay, and then we're going to actually talk a little bit more because there's one more key thing that the collective did, and that was very harmful, that I'll tell you about after this breakdown real quick, okay?
Exactly. Let's unpack that mirrored lesson in plain, deep, and simple terms for the fans themselves. Here's what it means. Mirrored lesson explained. The fans are the mirror. Every reaction, every cheer, every attack you give to a talent is reflecting how you see their freedom to act under the system, not whether they're good or bad. Perceived autonomy under systemic control means if the talent looks like they have a choice, fans will hold them accountable, criticize, or withhold grace. If the talent looks trapped by contracts, bosses, or industry rules, fans are more likely to protect, excuse, or support them. It's not about morality. Yoko didn't do wrong morally, but she was groomed and conditioned by decades in the industry. Fans saw her as able to choose, attacked her. Charlotte didn't do right morally either, but because her constraints were visible and obvious, fans saw her as controlled, gave her grace. In plain terms for fans, your judgment is a structural reaction, not a moral verdict. How you respond shows how legible the talent's system of control is to you, not the actual intent or character of the person. Essentially, fans reward visible struggle against the system and punish perceived compliance, regardless of the deeper truth. So the mirror is showing your perception of freedom, not the reality of it. That's why the collective treated Yoko and Charlotte so differently, even though both were equally bound by contracts.
And I want to say one more thing too, that it says essentially fans reward visible struggle against the system and punish perceived compliance regardless of the deeper truth. And I think about this, obviously as a melanated woman, people know the struggle of melanated women, but there is no grace for us melanated women. And like I said, the Thai GL's anti-black, but I continue. You see the hypocrisy? I wanted to talk about how I believe there was an incident where Charlotte ended up in the hospital because of stress and conditions under her agency, MGI. And I wanted to tell y'all the same thing could have happened to Yoko with all of y'all attacking her. She could have ended up in the hospital too under her stress. y'all had no grace for Yoko, and this is talking to the whole collective. Thai fans, international, everybody. Y'all are complicit. If Yoko ended up in the hospital due to, y'all probably would have been like, well, she deserved it. And that would have been so hypocritical, y'all. But a lot of y'all are hypocrites. I'm just calling it square. Because remember, y'all practice anti-blackness. So when Charlotte went under stress during MGI and with MGI and how Nuat was acting, the same thing could have happened to Yoko when y'all were attacking her in NineStar. And she's been in the system since 2, y'all. That's hella grooming. That's hella grooming. Like her reaction response in her situation, it makes sense now, don't it? But where was the grace for her? And if she had ended up taking her life, y'all probably wouldn't have cared. And that's really sad because it continues to remind me that y'all really do not care about women's autonomy because of the hypocrisy. They both were under contracts, one woman-led, one male-led, and they both were in situations that one ended up in the hospital and one that could have ended up in the hospital. And one has grace and one doesn't because of y'all perceived observations. And like I said, they're both contracted. What can they do? Huh? Contracts are a bitch, aren't they? But anyways, y'all, I just wanted to give y'all this reminder, y'all. It's wicked work out here in the Thailand GL. Wicked work. And, I say I want the best for both ladies. But at the same time, y'all have to give, y'all don't have to do anything. But me personally, I give Yoko grace because she's been in the system since she's been 2. And is that her parents' fault? Sure. But is she compliant? Is she not walking the path of someone that's been in the agency since 2? Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Y'all act like grooming doesn't exist. Huh? That's right. And Charlotte over here being defiant in the what? Y'all cheer that shit on because she knew. Y'all like, yeah, man, Charlotte, we fuck with you. We gonna send you money. Yeah, it's 2 different reactions, but she can't get out either. Hey, it is what it is, yeah? All right, y'all. It's Melanated GL Decoder. I'm gonna see you on the next one. Deuces.